Okay, here lately I've been kind of at a loss of what to make a recording about. So I've been just watching a lot of other people's YouTube videos and looking at some other channels, and kind of got inspired by one of Carolyn Emmerich's more recent videos, and just some of her work in general as to what I'm going to talk about. And this particular discussion is going to have to do with, folk-right versus alt-right, which I'm assuming Carolyn Emmerich coined that term, folk-right. She's the only one I've ever heard using that term. So, then you have the general alt-right, that, and then just kind of a, in general, comparison between Christianity and heathenry, and exposing some of the lies therein, and pointing out some of the truths. So we'll start out with a few things. I guess I don't promote proselytizing within heathenry. It's not something I personally would promote. That's more of typically like a Christian or a Muslim thing, to proselytize and try to convert everybody. Because for one, you're not trying to convert people when it comes to heathenry. You're trying to get them to return home to their native faith and spirituality. So what I would suggest doing is just pointing out the truth when and where you can, when the opportunity presents itself. Point out the truth. Talk about history. Things like that. Point things out to people. If they're supposedly a Christian, but yet you see that they go to Halloween parties and dress up for the, all like the costumed Halloween parties and stuff, and they celebrate Easter, and they teach their kids about the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus, and they practice the tradition of Christmas, and all this stuff is pagan. Well, point it out to them, show them, teach them, show them the truth that this is actually pagan, that this is heathen, this is it's not Christian. Explain it to them. Show them videos and documentaries done by other Christians about this very subject, and explain to them that, look, if you're supposedly a Christian, you can't be doing this. You can't do it. You can't have it both ways. You can't call yourself a Christian and condemn condemn pagan people. Say they're going to go burn in hell, all the while you're practicing pagan traditions. You can't do that. Try to teach them about history stuff maybe they are unaware of. Talk about Charlemagne having nearly 5,000 heathens beheaded in a single day simply because they were heathen. That's the same difference as radical Islam. Talk about that kind of stuff. Show people the truth, enlighten people. Try taking that tactic. You don't necessarily have to outright bash Christianity per se, but just show it for what it is. Expose its lies. Expose its bloody history. Talk about the witch trials. Whatever. I mean, you could take that sort of a tactic. And then point out positive aspects of heathenry. How it's very pro-family and how Christianity is not. The Bible itself, which, you can go back and look at my Bible verses recordings I did. The Bible doesn't preach family values. There's the one passage about how if you want to follow Jesus and be his disciple, you have to hate your mother and father and even yourself. So you have to hate your own family. Then there's the verses about if you have an unruly child, you're to take them before the elders and then have them stoned to death. Stuff like that. So stone your own children for being unruly. Kill them. Oh, okay. That's very pro-family. Look at the story that takes place in regards to the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. What is it? Lot, I believe, is the one last good man within that city. Him and his family. When the angels go to tell him and his family to leave, and the perverse homosexuals, or what the hell ever they were within the city that wanted to sleep with the angels. What does he do? He offers his virgin daughters to the crowd. Says, look, hey, I'll give you my virgin daughters to do with as you please. Just leave these guys here alone. Leave these angels alone. Yeah, he sure is a family man, boy, protecting his daughters. Point stuff like that out. show the differences, show the truths, point out, Bible verses, if you know them, that most Christians are uncomfortable with acknowledging even, that they even exist. Do that kind of stuff. That's a little bit more of an easy tactic to take, an easy way of doing things. Now, if we get into the more alt-right versus folk-right, okay, some easy things to point out that shows that the supposed alt-right movement, especially when it comes to these, Christian alt-right individuals, that shows that it's false, that it's not truly as, pro-Western and pro-white is what they claim or try to show. I mean, okay, you have Alex Jones. He claims to be, pro-Western and he's pro-America and all that stuff. Okay. Well, America was founded by white people, for white people. The Naturalization Act of 1790 makes that abundantly clear when it stated, as laid down by the forefathers, it was a law that stated only free whites of good character could be American. Within the Constitution, it states that they built America for themselves and for their posterity, their descendants, their future generations. Well, they were white people, so they're talking about the future generations of white people, of their descendants. This is just, it's fact. But yet you have Alex Jones openly making the statement that he doesn't care if America becomes a brown country, just as long as they're pro-guns and pro-Constitution. Okay, then you're not pro-America, you're not pro-Western, you're obviously not pro-white. You've got Matthew Heimbach, who once made the statement that he would side with a non-white Christian over a white pagan, apparently just because he has a shared religion with these non-white people, whether they be black or whatever the case may be. Well, I'm going to side with them because we worship the same desert god, so I'm going to side with them over my own folk. You've got Gavin McInnes of the Proud Boys, the founder of the Proud Boys. He supposedly is pro-Western. He's a Western chauvinist. Well, Western countries are white Western countries. Western culture is white Western culture. Western countries and Western culture would not exist without white people. That's a fact. It is. Western countries are, European countries, or America. That's Western countries. So the cultures found therein are white cultures. But yet he allows anyone into his group, as long as they're not, like Antifa. But aside from that, he pretty much allows anybody into his group. He himself is in an interracial relationship with an American Indian woman and has biracial children. So he is obviously not promoting the folk. He's obviously not. And then you have people like Richard Spencer, who might very well be controlled opposition himself, having interviews with people. Who was it? The basketball player. Now the name escapes me. Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley and some other black guy, maybe a reporter or a journalist, something like that. He had an interview with him, and he's talking about how white privilege is a real thing. Oh yeah, it exists, and I fully support it and want to promote it and expand upon it. That is utterly damning to the movement. There's no way you cannot know how damaging and damning that is to the movement. There's no way you cannot know this. So, him saying stuff like that it's insane. You've got that kind of stuff. Then you've got the white Christians talking about how, white pagans, you're all just going to burn in hell, and, the hell with all of you, you're filthy devil worshippers. They hate us because they want to call us devil worshippers and say that we're not pro-white because we don't worship a Jewish God, but yet we're the ones who aren't pro-white. They will flat out talk bad about their own pagan ancestors, and how they're burning in hell. And I know this for a fact because I've seen it. I just saw it the other day. I was in a debate with someone saying this exact stuff. But they don't care about their filthy pagan ancestors who are burning in hell. That's where they belong because they didn't worship the one true God. And you're going to burn in hell, and your kids are going to burn in hell, and screw all you filthy devil-worshipping pagans. So, it's pretty abundantly clear to me which path is the right one, which path is better and more healthy for our folk, which group is actually pro-folk and which group isn't pro-folk. Obviously, the folk right is for the folk, whereas alt-right, not so much when you see a lot of these individuals and what they're doing and what they're saying. So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where I wanted to go with this. I think I've covered everything. Hopefully the recording came out decent. I'll have to listen to it, make sure there's not a bunch of background noise. But nonetheless, if this one does go through good, thanks for listening.